on one game at a time. What really matters is how we compare to ourselves from the week before.
Yeah, they're chasing a Super Bowl. The Orioles soared to new heights in 2023. While the season didn't necessarily end the way they wanted it to, this is a club that won 101 games and earned the top seed in the American League as they take the steps in the right direction. General manager Mike Elias was a big reason for the club's success, and for that, he's been named MLB's Executive of the Year. 30 clubs vote on the award before the start of MLB's postseason begins. Still ahead, college basketball is back in College Park. We'll check in on the Terps as they open their season with high hopes. That's coming up on the late edition of Sports Unlimited.
Look at your weekend forecast in detail. Looks like we could have some showers, especially south of Baltimore. That's where they'll be most widespread. But I think we could get a little wet here to wrap up the work week. And that next weather maker moves south, and that's going to let in some chillier air over the weekend. Moderated temperatures a little bit on Saturday, although it's going to be dry. That's good for Veterans Day. Breezes don't look like as much of an issue now. The showers on Friday, 60 and sun on Saturday. Nice day, and even cooler yet for the Ravens game on Sunday. Temperature's going to be in the low to mid 50s throughout the game, maybe by the final. And that big Ravens win, only 49 degrees. So you're going to need that big purple jacket and scarf as we head into Sunday.
Yelp releases its list of the top 25 places to eat in Baltimore. Topping this year's list is Ekabin, an Asian fusion restaurant known for its steamed buns and fried chicken thighs with rice. Harbor 10 Doors, an upscale Indian restaurant in Fells Point. Third is Coco's Pub in Arcadia. Then Full On Craft Eats and Drinks, that's in Annapolis. And coming in fifth, Cafe June in Ellicott City. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, the latest on the trial of former City State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. The prosecution rests and the defense is making its case as testimony is underway. A rise in car thefts across Baltimore, what's being done to combat it?
Fox 45 News continues to follow breaking news. A police shooting in southwest Baltimore leaves one man dead. What we're learning about the investigation. Auto thefts in Baltimore up more than 200% this year alone, the two areas of the city that pose the biggest risk to your car. And later, House Judiciary investigators question special counsel David Weiss on the Hunter Biden probe. We'll have a live report from Capitol Hill with the latest.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Well, Fox 45 is continuing to follow that breaking news out of Southwest Baltimore, where a man is dead following a police shooting. Happened around 12:30 this afternoon. Baltimore police say the man pointed a gun at officers. BPD also confirming an officer was taken to shock trauma. Good evening, everybody. I'm Mary Bubala. Thank you so much for staying with us. Let's go now to Kai. He has the latest details on that shooting for us. Kai.
Mary, Baltimore Police Commissioner Richard Worley says officers saw a man who they thought had a gun on Brunswick Street near Wilkins Avenue. That's in Southwest Baltimore. Police say that man took off and officers chased him down Wilkins. One officer unsuccessfully tried to tackle him. At some point, the commissioner says the man turned around and pointed a gun at officers. Worley says the man was warned multiple times to drop the weapon. That's when multiple officers opened fire, shooting him. Investigators have not said how many times he was shot. Also, his identity and age are unknown. Fox 45 spoke to one man who says he's the brother of the man killed. He tells us he was with him when it happened.
So he's scared. He takes off running. He takes off running this way. That's how he gets up there up there. And when he get up there, when we run there, I'm running also, trying to run also, because I see the police is running, whipping their weapons out. So that's the main reason maybe run. So when I ran behind them, by the time you get right there, like by the speed limit, 30, the speed limit sign red say 30 at, shots start going off. About 15, 16 shots start went off.
Well, that man tells Fox 45 News the suspect was unarmed. However, police confirmed they recovered a handgun with an extended magazine at the scene. This is an active and ongoing investigation. Fox 45 News will keep you updated and bring you the latest developments on air and online. Mary.
That's why our carjackings are done. The young people and criminals have just switched to stealing cars, which is easier now.
Well, that comment coming from Police Commissioner Richard Worley this week as data shows a car is stolen nearly every hour right now in Baltimore City. But how does where you live impact your likelihood of being the next victim? Fox 45's Amy Simpson has a closer look at where the most cars are being stolen right now in Baltimore.
Car thefts are up significantly citywide, more than 200% year over year. But there are certain parts of the city that are being hit harder than others. Addressing the crisis this week,
there is one major statistic trending in the wrong direction.
City leaders pointing to a social media challenge. Car manufacturers,
Over 68% of those stolen autos are Hyundais and Kias.
And juveniles for the alarming rate of auto thefts in Baltimore.
Auto theft committed by juveniles is up 166% this calendar year.
As of October 28th, police data shows more than 9,300 car thefts citywide this year alone. Meanwhile, a district-by-district breakdown is only available since early July, when new lines were drawn for BPD's jurisdictions. But in the past 4 months, across the city's 9 police districts, 7 districts have seen roughly the same rate of stolen cars, anywhere from 400 to 550 thefts per district. But the 2 remaining districts are major outliers.
We know that auto theft activity is concentrated in certain areas of the city, and particularly, namely, the Northeast and the Southern District.
The Southern District, which includes neighborhoods from Fed Hill to Brooklyn, has seen nearly 700 cars stolen in that time period. And the Northeastern District, which include places like Morgan State and Lake Montebello, saw a staggering 927 auto thefts, nearly double the rate of cars stolen in other parts of Baltimore.
Our facility is located in the Northeast District.
Reverend P.M. Smith of Huber Memorial Church in Northeast, aware of the problem, this fall sharing his perspective on why auto thefts are so bad in that part of the city.
That's because most of them are new, most of them are Hyundais, and it doesn't matter. It could be a Cadillac, it could be a Toyota. They know that in this stable community, with a large number of homeowners, large and stable income base, will have a vehicle worth seeing, stealing, selling, or using it for another crime.
And at this pace, Baltimore will likely pass 10,000 stolen cars in just the next 2 or 3 weeks. In Baltimore, Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
Well, juvenile crime is helping drive that spike in car thefts. According to Baltimore police, auto thefts committed by juveniles are up 166% over last year. Of the nearly 700 auto thefts arrests made this year, 250 of them were juveniles. Now, Fox 45 has heard from more than a dozen top prosecutors in Maryland who are calling for change in Annapolis, saying juvenile justice laws leave their hands tied when it comes to holding young people accountable. Those prosecutors represent 5.4 million people, about 87% of the state's population. They are taking issue with two laws: the Juvenile Justice Reform Act, which prevents children under 13 from facing most criminal charges, and the Child Interrogation Protection Act, stating police cannot question any child as a suspect or witness without notifying parents and getting approval from an attorney. And a battle over juvenile justice has been brewing all year across Maryland, and tomorrow lawmakers will return to Annapolis to talk about the laws on the books some say are letting juveniles get away with crime. Fox 45's Maxine Stryker has a look at what we can expect at tomorrow's session.
This will be the second time in the past 2 months the committee is meeting to discuss juvenile justice laws, this time in person in Annapolis. And many are wondering what will come of it. Statewide, juveniles are causing chaos.
We're certainly seeing a lot more juveniles involved in really serious offenses.
From gun crimes to car thefts.
They come in, we can't detain them, they're back in the community the next day.
Prosecutors say their hands are tied when it comes to consequences.
What we're realizing when we talk to the young people is that young people, the juveniles, know there's nothing that we can do.
Police and even parents are crying out for change.
They need to stop making excuses. They need to start locking these kids up. They need to change the laws.
The Juvenile Justice Reform Act, which limits those 13 and under to charges for crimes of violence, and the Child Interrogation Protection Act are driving the frustration. And tomorrow in Annapolis, the Judiciary Committee will meet for the second time to discuss the growing crisis.
These laws are designed to protect people that have been alleged to have committed these offenses. However, there's nothing in place outside of thoughts and prayers that is available for those that are victims.
The Office of the Attorney General of Maryland's Juvenile Justice Monitoring Unit, members of the Juvenile Justice Reform Council, and Clyde Boatwright with the Fraternal Order of Police are expected to testify.
Right now, we're not seeing consequences. And so it's now emboldening the young people to continue to reoffend because they know they're not going to be held accountable for anything they do.
Now he's hopeful accountability is on the horizon before it's too late.
Hopefully, they take the information that they received at these last two meetings, process it, and understand that you've now heard from all stakeholders. Hopefully, members of the public will get to speak, and they will take that information and make critical changes to laws that have been enacted.
That hearing starts at 2 o'clock tomorrow in Annapolis. We will be there and bring you full coverage right here on Fox 45 News. In Baltimore, Maxine Stryker, Fox 45 News.
Marilyn Mosby's perjury trial has adjourned for the day as the court works to determine when the former city state's attorney will take the stand in her own defense. Earlier today, the prosecution rested and the defense started making its case. Testimony today focusing on when Mosby was planning to begin operating her travel business, Mahogany Elite Enterprises. One of the witnesses for the defense, Baltimore Downtown Partnership President Shalonda Stokes, testified she and Marilyn Mosby discussed the idea for the business while vacationing in 2019. The timeline of when Mosby started and when she was operating Mahogany Elite Enterprises is critical to the case. Federal prosecutors say Mosby saw an opportunity to invest in real estate and use the CARES Act to withdraw money from her retirement account for down payments. Meanwhile, the defense argues Mosby had long planned to launch a travel business, and the pandemic did significant impacts and damage to that plan, creating the financial hardship required under the CARES Act. Earlier tonight, we asked a legal expert if it's a good move for Marilyn Mosby to take the stand.
Because it always opens your client up to cross-examination from another lawyer. They get to ask any questions that they want, and under the state and federal rules, at least in Maryland and in federal courts, it's generally what's called wide open cross, which means they can delve into any subject that they think is relevant to the subject matter of this case, as well as anything that could be potentially impeachable, in other words, impinge on your client's character. And the critical thing is that The client is the one that gets to make the final decision as to whether or not they testify. The lawyers get to give advice, but ultimately it's just that. It's whether or not the client wants to testify in a particular case.
And Fox 45 News will be in Greenbelt every day for the remainder of the trial. Be sure to download the Fox 45 News app, turn on notifications to get breaking developments even when we're not on air. Well, tonight, the family of Rachel Morin is not giving up on the search for her killer. 3 months after the mother of five's mysterious murder, the Harford County family now turning their hunt for answers to Los Angeles. That's where DNA evidence linked the suspect to an unsolved home invasion back in March. The family is teaming up with the U.S. Postal Service to distribute these flyers featuring screen grabs of the surveillance footage and a $30,000 reward for information. The flyers will be given out to 10,000 L.A. area homes, reaching an estimated 58,000 people.
They're worried that leads are going cold, that the case may not be in people's minds, and that's why we're doing this now. We are constantly sitting down and thinking about how can we do more.
The Morin family is still seeking donations so they can continue increasing the reward fund. Those looking to donate can find a link on our website, foxbaltimore.com.
I'm Kayla Gaskins in Washington. Coming up, we'll dive into a very rare moment that happened Tuesday on Capitol Hill. Special counsel David Weiss answering questions for Congress.
And it looks like some chill setting up overnight. Temperatures settling down back into the 40s after highs in the 70s today. I'll let you know how much cooler it's going to be for tomorrow and the next risk of rain by Weather Authority forecast.
The prosecutor in charge of investigating Hunter Biden testified before Congress today to address Republicans' concerns over how the case is being handled. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins joins us live now from Capitol Hill with the latest on what happened today. Kayla?
Well, Mary, this appears to be an unprecedented move on Capitol Hill that we saw unfold today. Special counsel David Weiss saying this is the first time that he can find a special counsel testifying, answering questions before Congress before the final release of a special report. A rare moment on Capitol Hill Tuesday as special counsel David Weiss answered lawmakers' questions behind closed doors about his 5-year probe into Hunter Biden.
Weiss is a very strong witness, very credible witness.
It's highly unusual for a special counsel or any prosecutor to answer questions in the middle of an investigation. In a statement following the hearing, Weiss said he appeared voluntarily to address misunderstandings about the scope of my authority to decide where, when, and whether to bring charges.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that
Weiss's autonomy in the Hunter Biden case coming under intense scrutiny after IRS whistleblowers alleged the president's son got a sweetheart deal and that the DOJ blocked special counsel David Weiss from bringing more serious charges.
I watched United States Attorney Weiss tell a room full of senior FBI and IRS senior leaders on October 7th, 2022, that he was not the deciding person on whether charges were filed.
IRS whistleblower Gary Shapley claims during their investigation into Hunter Biden, the DOJ refused to let them follow leads involving Joe Biden. While there's no direct links tying the president to any wrongdoing, Politico publishing a special report documenting the mounting shifts and inconsistencies in statements.
The initial Biden response was there were no deals in China. That proved not to be true. Then it became, well, he never talked to his father, the vice president and now president of the United States, Joe Biden, about these deals. That ended up not being true. And then the final line of defense was that Joe Biden himself never personally benefited from these deals. And we now know, based on the new revelations, that that's not true.
And the House GOP is preparing to send out a flurry of subpoenas connected to their investigation into the Biden family's business deals. On that list, we expect to see the president's son, Hunter Biden, and his brother, James.
And real quickly, before you go, Kayla, where does that investigation stand?
Yeah, so right now the House is still in the middle of its impeachment inquiry, and we haven't heard a lot about it recently, Mary. That's because Republicans have had a lot to tackle recently, problems like deciding who the next Speaker of the House should be. So now that Mike Johnson is in place, the Republicans are getting back to tackling some of their other priorities, like this impeachment inquiry with these high-profile testimonies expected to come down. We'll see that get to the forefront of their minds, but, Mary, we are also still months away from having a final decision in this.
All right, Kayla Gaskins live for us from Capitol Hill tonight. Thank you.
Fox triple cast this evening showing us some dark skies, just a couple of patchy clouds on the Mile 1 Taos cam and the Toyota HD on our Inner Harbor sky cam, that is, and the HD radar showing us the next weather maker with a lot of rain and snow well to our north. But by the time it gets here, or at least the part that's going to get here, not going to be a whole lot of fanfare as it comes through, but you are going to experience a big temperature drop that comes for late tonight into tomorrow. Dry skies all the way through Thursday, maybe a shower later Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. That's when we track the next weather maker. That gives some showers Thursday night, especially in Friday, and a big weekend temperature drop again in time for Veterans Day and the Ravens game. So, Mile 1 Taos and Cam at 64 now after highs in the low and mid 70s today. We'll take that. Winds out of the west at 5 miles an hour. Humidity at 63%. Those westerly winds, they've been doing their work, keeping those temperatures warmer with some land air mass influence, if you will. Temperatures that have been near the bay have begun to drop off a little bit, and eventually for tomorrow, winds will switch back to the east again like they were yesterday. So that means a return to temperatures like yesterday, back into the low 60s likely. 7 degrees warmer than 24 hours ago here in Baltimore, up 9 degrees at Cockeysville. Look at you, Westminster and Frederick, about 15, 20 degrees warmer than just a day ago at the same time. Bunch of rain and snow up towards the Canadian border around Minneapolis and then again up into New England. But in between, with that same weather maker, there's not a whole lot. So the warmer weather that's been around today is going to get displaced by this system, this cold front slinking on through. Winds switch easterly for tomorrow, and it turns a lot cooler. Look at that air to the north. That's what's coming our way. Temperatures already settling quickly into the 50s there and didn't make it much out of the 50s to our north today. So overnight tonight, By 10 p.m., temperatures settling through the 50s into the 40s. It's going to be chilly by tomorrow morning, even some isolated 30s, generally low to mid 40s, though. And then by midday and afternoon tomorrow, looks like high temperatures have a hard time struggling out of the mid 50s to near 60. So chilly again for tonight, mostly clear skies, 43 for tomorrow, 61 and mostly sunny, much noticeably cooler. I'm going to let you know when things warm up once again, when the rain gets here. Now things look for the weekend and beyond. My exclusive 10-day forecast coming up.
A mother separated from her child just seconds after bullets ring out in a bowling alley. We're hearing from a survivor of the Lewiston, Maine mass shooting. A mother and her daughter were bowling in Lewiston, Maine, when 40-year-old Robert Card began shooting. After hearing the sound of bullets, she quickly realized her daughter was missing. Owen Kingsley from our Sinclair sister station in Portland has her emotional story.
Tammy Asselin escaped the bowling alley that night, but for about an hour was desperately trying to find out if her daughter did too.
When I say, "Where's Tony?" That forever will always be a trigger for me, because that was something I said all that night.
Tammy Asselin was at the bowling alley that night with her daughter Tony and several other friends and parents. Tammy remembers the sound of the first bullets and freezing up in disbelief. When she looked towards her daughter and the other children, they were all gone. She later found out that the couple bowling next to them had helped them get to safety.
My daughter ran out with them and they just took her, and made sure she was safe, which is exactly what every single one of us would have done for each other.
However, in the moments that followed, she lived out a nightmare, facing a life or death situation and having no idea where her child was. She quickly hid behind a wall with another family.
And so we were hiding in that corner and listening to everything that was transpiring.
Once police arrived on scene, Tammy began pleading with them to help find her daughter. About an hour later, Tammy's father and Tony's grandfather, Fern, called her.
she's safe, she's safe, she's safe. And then I'm like, what, who's safe? I'm like, and he's like, Tony just called me. The most sad thing is, you know, she had to say, I'm not dead, Pepe.
Tammy's cousin, Trisha Asselin, died that night. She worked at the bowling alley. Tammy says she was close with her cousin and sad she didn't see her that night.
So it saddened me that I didn't get a chance to talk to her that night, because we always talked, you know.
Growing up with her at family gatherings, Tammy says Trisha was always positive and competitive.